Hello, and welcome back to Voyage of a Time Wanderer. Today I am here with a very exciting video because it's my first ever original tag, and that is the Monet tag. So spring is definitely in the air here where I live, and I was looking for a springtime themed tag to do, but most of the ones that I could find when I was searching were a couple of years old, so I thought, why not take the opportunity to try making my own tag for the first time. So I was inspired for this tag by an Instagram account that I follow called Little Fern Fibers, and I'll put a screenshot of some of their work over here. And they are an Instagram account that takes famous paintings and matches them to skeins of yarn that they have hand dyed to match kind of the color palette represented in that painting. So I thought, why not play off of that idea and have a book tag that is based off of famous paintings. Besides reading, there are a few things I love in life more than wandering through a big art gallery and just absorbing all the beautiful artwork. So I originally thought I would make a tag with one question for each of my favorite artists, but I was having a terribly hard time choosing just one painting for each artist, so I thought, why not make this into a series and give each of them their own tags. So today we are doing the Monet tag, and hopefully it will be a bit like a virtual stroll through an art gallery. So the first painting, Monet's Garden at Vetheuil. Monet's home was surrounded by beautiful gardens that inspired much of his art. What is a book with beautiful nature writing that makes you think of spring? So for the first question, I have a book that I'm actually reading for the first time this spring, and that is The Enchanted April by Elizabeth Van Arnhem. This is a book that I had seen all of over at A Book Olive Discuss last year, and I wanted to wait until I could read it in April, so I've waited a whole year to read it, and it has not disappointed. The cover art is so beautiful with the wisteria creeping down on the side, and it definitely inspired springy feelings just when I looked at it. And then when I opened it up, I was blown away by how beautiful the nature writing in this book is. The descriptions of the gardens and the different flowers and trees that are blooming around the castle that these women are living in is absolutely stunning. So the premise of this book is that there are two women who are living in dreary post-war London, and they see an ad for a castle in Italy that's for rent for 1 month. And they find two other women so they can split the cost, and the four of them go off to live in this castle for the month of April. I'm actually reading it right now, and I can tell that it is going to be a beautiful journey of self-discovery for these women, and the nature writing and descriptive passages are just really making this into the perfect spring read. The second question is a woman reading. Now that the weather is warming up, do you like reading outside? Why or why not? So actually, I don't really like reading outside as much as I always think that I'm going to. I always have big plans that I'm going to enjoy an outdoor reading session, and I make a big deal of planning it and choosing the perfect book and bringing along snacks and a blanket, and then when I actually get there, I don't really enjoy it that much. I find it's hard to find the perfect mix of sun or shade without the light dappling across the pages and distracting me. It's windy and the pages are blowing everywhere, or if I'm reading off of an e-reader, the glare is making it difficult. So usually I actually don't really like reading outside, but I do love reading inside with my windows open on a nice day when I can feel the fresh breeze coming through and hear some birds singing outside. I did actually spend a lot of time last year decorating my little apartment balcony, and I did really enjoy reading there because the roof provides the perfect amount of shade and there's no crosswind, but you just get the beautiful ambiance of reading outside among the different plants that I had chosen for my balcony. So typically I would say no, I don't like reading outside, but I did get converted last year into being a balcony reader. The third question is Water Lilies and a Japanese Bridge. Monet is most famous for his paintings of water lilies. Share a book with water motifs on the cover or that deals with a nautical water-related theme. So for this question, I actually have two books that I want to share. The first is She Would Be King by Wayatu Moore, and this cover image just gives me such watery vibes with the little wavy blue lines across the cover. So I don't think this book actually has anything to do with water. It's a piece of African literature set in Liberia back, I believe, in the 1800s or so. and it is apparently a blend of history and magical realism. It deals with a woman who was cursed at birth and kind of ostracized from her community, and she gets involved in the settlement in Liberia that was made up of former slaves who have come over to begin life again in Africa. And it's said that if she was not a woman, she would be king. So I think it sounds like a really interesting book, and it definitely makes me think of water with the cover. But so the other one I have is The Loving Spirit by Daphne du Maurier, and this is one that I'm hoping to get to in the next couple of weeks. It's on my Reading Through My Family Tree Victorian England TBR, which I'll be posting later. And this cover is obviously both watery and nautical. I absolutely love like the moonlight on the water, the beautiful sailing ship, and the colors are just incredible. This is a multi-generational novel that begins with a woman who longs for adventure and the freedom of the sea. And as she marries and has children, this desire is passed on, and it deals with people who went to sea in the 1800s and 1900s. So looking at sailors on these beautiful old sailing ships. Then the fourth question is Rouen Cathedral. Monet also painted a series of this famous cathedral in France. What is your favorite book that prominently features a building? So there are a couple of books that I think of when I think of a building almost taking on the presence of a character in a novel. And I'll share two of those today. The first is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. And in this book, Northanger Abbey, in my mind, almost takes on a character of its own, both in the book and in our protagonist's mind. As she spends time in Northanger Abbey, the building influences her thoughts and actions in such a wonderfully Gothic way. So Northanger Abbey is definitely one of the books that first comes into mind when I think of a book that prominently features a building. Then, of course, I also have Pillars of the Earth, and this matches so well with the painting. Even the cover image kind of mimics Monet's painting. And this is the first book in Ken Foley's Pillars of the Earth trilogy. And one of the things I absolutely love about this edition is that the different section headings show the progression of the cathedral being built. So we have, for the first section, the old church, the way it looked before this book got started. Then for part two, we have this image that shows the plans for the new cathedral being drawn up by the architects. For part three, we see the beginning of this building taking place. Part four shows some more of the drawing details for the flying buttresses and the arches, which if you've read this book, you know are kind of a major plot point. Part 5 shows construction well underway. We've got little scaffolding and people at work here. And then finally part 6 shows the finished cathedral, and we have our villagers going to worship in their brand new cathedral. So this book takes place over a 40-year time span, and the building of the cathedral is woven throughout the plot. And Foley includes so many architectural details about what it was like building a church in this time period and how medieval builders were able to make such incredible structures that to this day remain impressive tourist attractions and places of worship. So I would definitely say that the Kingsbridge Cathedral is basically the main character of the Pillars of the Earth. Then our next question is Plums Blossom. Blossoms give the promise of fruit to come. Is there a series that you have recently started or are excited to start that you are hoping will provide a long and fruitful reading experience? So for this question, I have to answer the Mitford series. I'm part of the hashtag A Year in Mitford read along with Kate Howe, Angie from Literary Labours, and Rainey from Rainy Day Reads. And we are 3 books into this series as 3 months of the year have passed. And it is just such a warm and cozy series. And starting last month with book 3, I could really see that we were starting to get the payoff of reading a long-term series where we knew the characters so well, so we could dive more into their psychology and motivations for actions. We didn't have to be introduced to people and themes, we could just explore them deeper. So that is definitely a series that I'm just at the beginning of, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing with. Then the next question is sunset on the Seine in winter. Sunsets signify the ending of a day. What is one of your favorite books that has an older protagonist in the sunset of their life? And for this question, I'm choosing The Stone Angel by Margaret Laurence. And this is a Canadian classic that I actually read way back in grade 11 in high school. And the protagonist in this book is Hagar Shipley, who is 90 years old, struggling with the beginnings of dementia and facing the reality that she is going to be moved into a long-term care home soon by her family. So it's kind of interspersing a looking back narrative where we learn about the major events in Hagar's life with the present day, where you can see that she's really struggling with having to move into a care home, which she kind of considers will be the end of her life, and she doesn't want to accept that yet. And this was just a really impactful read for me. It deals with a lot of sad issues and challenges that she has passed through, but also just so beautifully discusses what it is like to come to the end of your life and have to grapple with the knowledge that most of your experiences in life are now in the past. Then our next question is, Woman with a Parasol, share a book that has beautiful characterization. This is actually one of my favorite of Monet's paintings. You can see a selfie I took here when I was at the Musée d'Orsay last year. I love how you can almost feel the breeze blowing through the grass and the woman's skirts. It just feels like she's probably on a cliffside overlooking the sea or something, and I can almost smell the salt air. So when I think of beautiful characterization, the first thing that comes into mind is Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is one of the classics that I have read that has probably stuck with me the most, and I find myself thinking of often. The characters in this book are absolutely beautiful. We follow Molly, who is a young girl, and her mother had passed away when she was quite young, and her father decides that she needs a mother to shepherd her into womanhood. So he remarries, and she gains a stepmother and a stepsister, and we follow the family as they navigate what it's like to blend a family together. We follow some of their neighbors that they are close with, and the characterization in this book is just so absolutely beautiful. It's quite a long book, but honestly it didn't feel like it when I was reading it, because I felt like I was just there living the story with these characters. None of them seemed like they were just one-sided caricatures that were just in the story for a single purpose. They just all felt so incredibly real. So that is definitely my choice for beautiful characterization. And then the final question is, Poppyfield, find a book on your shelves with flowers on the cover. So this final question kind of goes back to our spring theme, and one of the books that I could find on my shelves with flowers on the cover is The White Queen by Philippa Gregory, and this has York white roses kind of embossed in silver across the cover. I absolutely love the cover of this book, and when I was reading it and watching the White Queen miniseries, I actually had to run out and buy myself a little white rose bush from the grocery store to have on my table because I got so emotionally invested in these characters and the Yorkist cause. So thank you so much for watching my first original tag video, the Monet tag. I would love to see your take on matching books to these beautiful paintings. Please comment below if you do end up doing this tag, because I would love to check out your videos. Until next time, enjoy wandering through the pages of a good book. Bye.